What's going on, team? Here talking about visual exercises that we are going to utilize to develop our ability to be able to manipulate our vision and do some very specific things with our vision that will maximize our ability to squeeze every ounce of performance that we can out of our marksmanship. So let's get into this. First and foremost, let me take my glasses off so you can actually see my eyes and can see what's going on with them. The first one we are going to start out with is one of the more simple exercises, if you will. We're utilizing one focal point. It is called a pencil push-up. Some of you may be familiar with the pencil push-up. It's a pretty common one, right? So what is a pencil push-up? A pencil push-up is nothing more than utilizing a single focal point held in your hand. In this case, where's the camera? In this case, not sure if you can see that clearly or not, but we are utilizing a Phillips head screwdriver, a small Phillips head screwdriver, and I'm using that Phillips head screwdriver for a specific reason. I'll talk about that in just a minute. What we're going to do with our single focal point is we're going to bring our single focal point directly in front of us, and our objective is to focus on that single focal point, and you'll see that I'm actually moving it around. The reason why I'm moving it around is because I want to get to the point where I've got the maximum amount of detail on that actual Phillips head. I want to get that light glistening off of one of the ridges so that I know that I've got it in full focus and view, that I'm actually looking at the very tip of the Phillips head screwdriver. So I'm going to bring that back directly in between my eyes, and my goal is to keep it in crisp, clear focus and not allow the image to split. Now, right now it's getting a little bit blurry, but it's still a single image. And I want to bring it back to the point where I start to see the image split, and I can actually feel myself get a little woozy there. Believe it or not, the image is splitting up. I'm gonna bring it back, and then once we have one single image, I've got it as clear as I possibly can. My visual focus is right on the tip of the focal point, and I'm gonna hold it there for about 10 seconds. So I count out to 10, and then I'm gonna bring that focal point all the way back out. And this is why we call this a pencil push-up, because you're pushing forward and then we're pushing back. The goal is to get this thing as close as possible, keeping it in one image. And the way we do that is we get to the point where the image splits, and then we back off just slightly. Once we get the image as one image, even if it's not crystal clear, you want to hold it there for about 10 seconds. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yada, yada, yada. We simulate that we did that for 10 seconds, and then you push it back out all the way to full extension. Now, we're going to do that over and over again for whatever prescribed time it is that you set the drill for. My recommendation is to not set the prescribed time. We're going to be going through 8 individual exercises, so I would not recommend doing this for any more when you first start out, for any more than 1 minute each exercise, right? So we'll do that pencil push-up for 1 minute, and then we move on to the next one. The next one is going to be the Saccadic Sprints. What are Saccadic Sprints? We are looking at our ability to develop and control our saccadic eye movements, which are large eye movements across a horizontal plane, looking from that target array to that target array. That would be a saccadic eye movement. Whether we do it without any body movement whatsoever, or whether we do it without any head movement whatsoever. Initially, we're going to be doing this without any head movement whatsoever. We're going to take 2 focal points and we'll bring them right here in front of us. And what I'm doing is I'm focusing on, again, the ridges on the tip of the Phillips head screwdriver, and I'm also focusing on the gold part of that balled point pen, not the actual whole tip of it, the pen itself, but the actual gold part. It is really, really important, in my opinion, that you pick a specific point or a specific spot on the tips, on the very tips of your focal points for your vision to land on. Don't just shift your eyes back and forth from the entire screwdriver to the entire pen. We want to actually pick a very specific point for our vision to land on once it gets there. It's like anything else. In order to get from point A to point B, you need to know what your destination is, your specific destination, so that you can be very precise in landing at that destination, okay? So we bring our 2 focal points up, and I am going to, without any head movement whatsoever, I freeze my chin at the center line of my body. I have these about, I don't know, just inside of shoulder width apart, and I'm going to look first at the tip of the screwdriver, and I'm going to shift my eyes over to the tip of the pen. Back and forth, back and forth. I am not moving my vision until I recognize, yes, I clearly see the tip of the pen. I recognize that I've landed well with my vision on the tip of the pen. That's when I shift my vision over to the screwdriver and back. I'm going to do that over and over again for whatever prescribed time that I deemed at the beginning of the drill. Again, I don't recommend any more than 1 minute for, at least initially. We'll talk about that in just a minute. How can I either make this a little bit more difficult or a little bit easier on the eyes? Well, we can do that by varying the width with which we are holding our focal points. If just inside the shoulders is very easy for you, bring it just outside of the shoulders. And again, we're doing this without any head movement. The further and further apart we go, the more difficult it's going to be for us to shift that focal point between these 2 points without moving our head. But we want to get to the point where we can actually draw this all the way out to where we can specifically, that's about as far as I can get. Let me show you what I got here. That's about as far as I can get and still have good clear vision on the tip of the pen over to the screwdriver. I got to bring that one in just a little bit for some reason. Yep, right there. I think it was the background that was messing me up. Okay, back and forth. No head movement. Back and forth. Minimizing that head movement, if any. You want to monitor that. So you're going to go back and forth between your 2 focal points. So that's exercise number 2. Exercise number 3 is going to be, I call these H-outs. This is one of the ones that I picked up from a good friend of mine, former Muay Thai training partner and my current eye doctor, Dr. K. He's the one that actually recommended these. I can't remember what the exact name was, but I call them H-outs. Here's what H-outs look like, right? So we're going to start in the exact same position that we did with the pencil push-up. We start as far away or as extended as we can get our arm. We have that good visual focus on our focal point, and we're going to bring it back. I'm going to get to that maximum depth where the image is not splitting. I still have a single image. And then when I come back out here, I want to come up and over in a circle, keeping that focal point in complete crystal clear view. Then I come over to the opposite side. And once I go up and around, when I get back here, I'm going to hit one more pencil push-up, a quick one. We don't have the 10-second hold here. I just come back to my maximum depth, come back out. Now we go under in the opposite direction. And your goal here is to keep that single focal point in full view. In other words, in full focus rather, not in full view, but in full, you have to look at it, right? But in full focus the entire time. If it gets out of focus, bring it a little bit closer if you need to. For some reason, I am noticing today something that I have not had to do before, which is on my right side, I'm having to bring things in just a little bit tighter. So this is a really good way of learning your vision and learning your body and what your vision is doing so that you can kind of understand things on the fly as you are using your vision in anything you do, but in this case, we're doing it for marksmanship stuff, right? So those are H-outs. You're going to do that for a minute. Come up and around, up and around, and then down and around, down and around, alternating those two directions in your H outs. The next exercise that we are going to be conducting are the diagonal saccadic sprints. What do we mean by diagonal saccadic sprints? This is exactly the same way we did the saccadic sprints for exercise number 2. The only difference is we are now changing the plane of our focal points. So we're doing the same thing. We're shifting from one focal point to the other. We're not moving until we've recognized that we have a crystal clear view on that focal point. Then we shift over to the next one. Shift over to the next one. Once we've got 3 or 4 on that plane, then we shift planes, and we actually have this one a little bit higher than that one. And then we can do, we can vary this in any way, shape, that or form that we need to. We can bring them in tighter. We can actually do it at an angle. We can have one high, one low. You can shift the direction of the actual focal point if you want to, but the idea is to get a wide range of saccadic sprints, either in an X pattern or an up and down pattern. You can go like this. Just throw some variety in there and see what it is that you notice about your vision in particular. And if there's an area like mine, for some reason today, the right side is giving me a little bit of a challenge, if you will, more so than the left side, then that's probably something that I'm going to pay a little bit more attention to and see if I can kind of get that worked out and balance things out on both sides, right? So those are the diagonal sprints. For exercise number 5, we are going to do saccadic sprints, but we're doing saccadic sprints with head movement now. Here is where we have our 2 focal points, and what I want you to do is I want you to focus on one focal point with your head facing that focal point. You're going to shift your eyes over, and your head is going to follow. As you shift your eyes over, there's going to be a point where I can see the focal point right now, but my head has not completely moved. My goal is that once my head completely settles into facing the actual focal point, everything should be in crisp, clear focus, right? So we start here. I shift the eyes first. I already catch that focal point, right, in my peripheral vision. My eyes land on it, and as my head comes over, everything is in crystal clear, full clarity, full focus is what I'm looking for. Everything is in full focus at that point. Then I shift back over with my eyes to the other focal point. I catch it in my peripheral vision. As my head is coming over, following and settling, it is in full focus on that focal point. The saccadic sprints with head movement are the ones that actually mimic, in my opinion, transitions with the pistol, right? Because this is what we want to be doing with the pistol is as we come up on one target array and we fire, whether it's pistol, carbine, doesn't matter. As we fire and we shift our vision over to that next focal point, the eyes lead, vision leads the way, it lands on the target and everything else follows in. By the time everything else comes in to settle on target, that specific spot that you picked on the target should be in clear view and clear focus so that once the gun and sights arrive, you're already banging on that trigger and actually servicing that particular array. Okay, moving on to the next one. Okay, for exercise number 6, it's going to be the push-out, right? What do push-outs look like? So for push-outs, you actually need a separate target at a distance. You can actually utilize a target that you've posted up, or you can utilize an object out in the distance. I could have easily used one of the tree trunks to do so, but for this exercise or this example, we're actually going to be utilizing the USPSA metric that I've got posted up on the glass here. And essentially what we're doing is I'm going to utilize our focal point. I'm going to have the focal point at arm's length. I'm shifting my focus from the actual focal point out to the target, and the vision comes from the target back to the focal point. So I am practicing, or I am developing the ability to shift my focus from a close focal point to a far focal point. When I say focal point, what I mean is, and the reason why I use this type of target is so that I've got specific reference points for my vision. When I push my vision out, I'm not just pushing it out and looking at the entire target. I want to look at something very, very specific on the target. In this case, we've got that nice, crisp, clear little A right in the A zone. So my vision is going to land right in the A zone and then shift back to the tip of the screwdriver, and from the tip of the screwdriver back to the A, back and forth. That is a push out, if you will, right? So that is number 6. What are we working there? We're working our ability to be able to change depth visually, right? If you've got an array at the let's say it's at 5 yards and immediately need to go from that 5-yard target to a 20-yard partial, if you will. You go from having an open USPSA metric to only having about 6 inches. Let's say it's just the head with that 3x5 head box at 20 yards. It's going to be a very challenging thing to do visually, is to shift focus from that open target at 5 yards and then throw your vision all the way down to the 20-yard line on the 6x6 head box, which is the only thing that would be available, right? Or a piece of steel, let's say a 4-inch square at 35 yards, if you happen to be shooting at certain matches here in the North Carolina area. Go shoot! Which can be very challenging, right? But that's why we do it. We do it because it's difficult, not because we enjoy doing it. So that is the pencil push out and the reason why we do it. Let's move on to the next one. This is one of my favorites personally. This was one that I find a lot of use out of, not just visually. I'll explain what I mean by that. This is what I call the on-target head shifts, right? What you're going to do is you're going to have your vision on a target, which is going to be directly in front of you. In this case, I'm going to be utilizing that metric so that I don't have to switch the camera around. I'm just going to utilize an object here in the distance, and I'll show you exactly how we're going to do this. Super simple. I'm going to look at the target, and my eyes do not move. I want to keep my eyes on that target the entire time while I shift my head. That might be shifting up and down, and then side to side. And as you can see, my eyes, the goal rather, is to keep my eyes firmly on the target while my head is moving around. You can also do circles, one direction, circles in the other direction. You can actually do this at an angle. You can do this at the other angle. You can come up with all kinds of variations, but the goal is to keep your eyes on the actual target downrange and move your head while you keep your vision firmly landed on that target. The reason why I really, really dig this one so much is because it doesn't just work your vision, it actually works the flexibility in your neck. This is something that I just kind of realized as I was doing it. Me personally, being a jiu-jitsu guy, I've had some issues with my neck, not tapping when we're supposed to, getting neck cranked by that jerk in the gym who hurts everybody. That exercise of actually exercising the neck area and rotating it and, stretching it out, if you will, warming it up, it really alleviates the pain and some of the discomfort that I've dealt with in my neck. That's just been a residual effect of doing that particular exercise, and I really, really dig it. Okay, on to number 8. Number 8 is transitions with a target. Transitions with a target. This is really relevant to what we do in practical shooting, right? In performance-driven shooting. where we are practicing transitions, right? Those transitions may happen horizontally, those transitions may happen diagonally, those transitions may happen vertically. So we want to practice all of those. So we are bringing everything together essentially. What we're going to do is we're going to have a target at distance downrange. I don't care if it's 5 yards away from you or if it's 50 yards away from you. You want to pick a focal point that is farther away than the 2 focal points that you're going to be utilizing. And all you're going to do is you're just going to transition between those 3 focal points. So let's say I've got this focal point completely extended, this focal point about halfway extended, and then I've got my point of reference and my target downrange. I'm going to shift my eyes from the center over to the screwdriver, and then I'm going to shift over to the pen. And as you can see, I'm doing this the exact same way that I did the exercise before. The eyes lead the head. By the time the head settles on that point, everything should be in crystal clear focus. Now here, again, we can make this as easy or as challenging as we want to. The closer you have them to that point of reference or that target downrange, that focal point downrange, the easier, the less challenging it's going to be. The further apart you have them, the more challenging it's going to be. You can also change planes, right? Have one focal point high, one focal point low, and then your focal point right in the center. And you just transition between those 3, utilizing that head movement and ensuring that by the time the head transitions off of one target or one focal point to the next, that once your head is completely settled, that focal point is in crisp, clear transition. Those are the 8 exercises that I've got for you. We've got the pencil push-up, we've got the Saccadic Sprint, we've got H-outs, we've got the diagonal Saccadic Sprints, we've got the Saccadic Sprints with head movement, you've got the push-outs, you've got the on-target head shift, and the transitions with the target downrange, right? And your 2 focal points. Those are your 8 exercises. Now, earlier in the video, I recommended that you don't do these for any more than 1 minute individually. You can start out doing them for 20 seconds a piece. You can start out doing them for 40 seconds a piece. You can start out doing them for a minute a piece. Once you start kind of getting comfortable and getting used to it, and you start burning through these, and you find that they are less and less challenging, I recommend bumping that time up exponentially, right, across the board. So if you've been doing them for a minute each, and that's been an 8-minute exercise for you, and you're ready to bump things up, maybe do a minute and a half, or go to 2 minutes. Now, 2 minutes, that's a 16-minute exercise with 8 exercises. 3 minutes, that's 24 minutes of exercise. That may or may not be more, or a lot more time than some of us actually dry fire, right? But these are very, very specific drills that are designed to develop something that is going to exponentially affect your ability to be able to manipulate your vision and pull as much performance as you possibly can out of your marksmanship, okay? Some of the things that you want to be wary of, or I'm sorry, some of the things that you want to be aware of, some of the things you want to pay attention to where your body might start screaming out, hey, we've got a problem here, right? This is no different than going to the gym. If you go to the gym and you start lifting heavy things and putting them down, you're going to get to a point where your muscles will fatigue, and they're going to start screaming at you and saying, hey man, you are at your limits, you might want to back off. That's typically the time to pound some pre-workout and charge through, right? Well, some of you may have found some success with that. Others may have ended up jacking themselves up, right? Oftentimes, we want to actually listen to our bodies, and when our bodies start warning us that we are overdoing it, maybe back off just a little bit. What are some of the things that you want to look out for here when you're working your vision? You want to look out for watery eyes. If your eyes start watering really, really bad, that may be an indication of fatigue going on, that you are actually really working your vision. I'm not telling you to stop doing the exercise. I'm telling you maybe back off on the exposure, maybe back off on the time. Instead of doing it for a minute, do it for 40 seconds or do it for 30 seconds and build that fatigue factor up. What are some of the other things that we need to look for? If your vision starts getting very blurry, where you can't control it, where everything just starts getting blurry, that is an indication that you need to stop. Maybe go see Dr. K, go see an eye doctor and see what's going on. The last one is excessive blinking, right? If you start like uncontrollably blinking, it may be that your eyes are just dried out and your body is trying to help you out with being able to maintain that vision by blinking and trying to moisturize your eyeballs, if you will. I don't know the technical terms here. I just know that those are three things that I've encountered while I was doing or in doing these vision exercises. So three things to look out for. When I've encountered them, I've done nothing more than just back off the time and not be so obsessive with it. And that's worked out. I've been able to build that fatigue factor up. I do these for between 2 to 3 minutes at a time. So anywhere from 16 to 24 minutes I dedicate to vision exercises. I'm not at the point where I do them on a daily basis. I don't do them every single time that I dry fire. I dry fire way more than I've been doing the vision exercises. But it's starting to get there where I'm seeing so much of a payoff with working the vision stuff that I am doing it more and more. I would say it's probably a 1 to 3 ratio right now with dry fire, and we're bumping those numbers up because those are rookie numbers, right? Okay, so that's pretty much all I got. I really hope that you find value in these. I know that I have. I know that the clients that I've worked with have found value in them. I highly recommend you explore these. Come up with your own variations. That's exactly what I did. I got exposed to these by seeing a couple of videos on YouTube, talking to my good friend, Dr. K. I don't know if I mentioned him or not. I can't remember. But Dr. K was the one who gave me, oh yeah, we talked about the H-outs. That's right. Dr. K was the one who gave me the H-out. Explore these, see what you can get accomplished with them. And do me a favor, if they do help you out, or if you've got a variation, if you've got something that you've utilized from the standpoint of vision exercises that has helped you out, please drop a comment down below. Hit us up, let us know if they've worked out for you. Let us know if you've got any ideas, something that I might be able to throw into my routine as well. I truly, truly appreciate each and every one of you. With that, I'm going to sign off. Do me a favor. Continue to follow the process, train, prepare, prevail. We'll see you on the next one. Stay safe.